There was once a gamer so powerful that every professional team feared him the moment his name was mentioned. He spent years standing above everyone else, winning every championship without fail, and ruling the competitive scene like an untouchable king. But everything changed in an instant. After losing the position he once owned, he fell from greatness and became just another struggling employee working inside a small cyber cafe. For 10 whole years, the game Glory dominated the world with more than 13 million active players. During that time, countless legendary gamers rose to fame, but only one person stood above all of them. His name was Ye Shu, the player everyone feared, the true king of Glory. Thanks to his unmatched strategies and terrifying skills, Team Excellent Era managed to secure 3 consecutive championships. Right from the start, we witness a monster so powerful that no player can even scratch it properly. Yet Ye Shu casually destroys it with a single attack. His fingers move across the keyboard at insane speed, almost like a deadly performance created to crush every opponent in existence. For professional teams, facing him was nothing less than a nightmare. But no matter how legendary someone is, betrayal can still reach them. During Glory's 10th anniversary celebration, the unthinkable happens. The club suddenly decides to remove Ye Shu from his throne and replace him with a younger player named Sun. With a proud smile, Sun reaches out to claim the legendary account and coldly tells him, "Your era is over, old man." At that moment, it feels less like losing a game and more like watching someone steal away the soul you built for years. Unfortunately, the humiliation does not end there. The club corners Ye Shu with 2 cruel choices. Either he pays an impossible penalty fee to leave, or he signs a retirement contract that forces him away from the professional scene for an entire year. Realizing there is no point fighting back, Ye Shu quietly signs the contract. Before leaving, he gives Sun one final piece of advice. If you really love this game, make it your glory instead of using it to show off. Without showing anger or regret, Ye Shu calmly walks away from the club. Snow falls heavily around the streets as the former king wanders alone until he notices a nearby cyber cafe. For the first time in years, he is no longer the strongest player in the world, just another ordinary person searching for a place to stay. Inside the cafe, the manager Chen Guo is furious after losing 52 times against an average player. But when she returns moments later, she is completely stunned because Ye Shu already defeated the same boss in only 40 seconds. Shocked beyond belief, she asks how he managed to do it. Ye Shu casually responds, "My hands were a bit cold today. Normally, I clear it even faster." With just that sentence alone, he completely destroys her confidence. As Chen Guo continues watching him play, she starts for him. Dong spread false rumors claiming Ye Shu exploits beginner players. Despite the insults flooding toward him, Ye Shu remains completely unaffected. To him, the hate messages are no different from background noise. While exploring later on, he encounters another party searching for additional members. One player refuses to let him join because of the terrible rumors circulating online, but another teammate quickly stops the argument, clearly nervous about offending someone as dangerous as Ye Shu. Soon afterward, the group heads toward the Forest Lion dungeon. Along the way, giant spider monsters attack the party repeatedly, but Ye Shu cuts through them so effortlessly that everyone becomes stunned by his movements. Wave after wave of enemies falls before him until the enormous dungeon boss finally reveals itself. Its terrifying appearance fills the players with fear, yet Ye Shu charges directly toward it without hesitation. Using a relentless combination of overwhelming attacks, he crushes the monster completely and once again becomes the first player to clear the challenge. Because of these unbelievable accomplishments, the members of the Blue River team begin investigating his true identity. Many of them start suspecting that Ye Shu might secretly be a retired professional player. Before leaving the dungeon, the group suddenly discovers the hidden boss of the area. After analyzing the creature's speed and defensive abilities with a single strike to its head, Ye Shu immediately begins organizing the team with precise instructions, transforming the entire group into a perfectly coordinated fighting unit. The hidden boss suddenly releases a powerful electric attack that paralyzes him instantly. Taking advantage of the opportunity, everyone attacks the monster non-stop. During the intense battle, he unlocks brand new abilities, begins moving through the air almost as if he is flying, and unleashes a continuous barrage of devastating attacks until the hidden boss is finally defeated. The news spreads across the server almost immediately. leaving countless players completely shocked. Nobody can understand how it happened. Many people even question whether this is really the same player Dong accused of exploiting beginners. Since he is now using the account named Lord Grimm, his identity becomes one of the biggest mysteries on the entire server. Meanwhile, Ye Xiu calmly gathers all the rewards without showing much interest in the chaos surrounding him. Shortly after, he notices thousands of friend requests sent by Blue River, a member of one of the 5 most powerful guilds in the game. After accepting the request, the guild leader explains that they want his help breaking a server record. Ye Xiu agrees, but only under one condition. He demands a massive amount of rare materials, including 50 deer horns, 20 demon bats, 10 red-crayed feathers, and 7 blood crystals. Even though the guild leader feels like crying internally, he still agrees to every demand. After receiving everything he wanted, Ye Xiu casually thanks him before reminding him about their meeting the following night. Immediately after, precise and unbelievable that even the game's own developers would probably struggle to recreate them. Arrows rain down toward him endlessly, yet he avoids every single one flawlessly. Since goblins lack intelligence, he manipulates them into attacking one another instead. Then the battlefield turns even more chaotic. Ye Xiu transforms his umbrella into a machine gun and begins destroying enemies non-stop. Even defeated monsters become weapons in his hands, as he grabs corpses and throws them directly into groups of enemies like bowling balls crashing into pins. Despite being surrounded from every direction, he remains perfectly calm. Suddenly, he leaps high into the air and begins moving almost like he is flying. At that moment, he finally tells the team that he will not carry them forever and that it is time for them to fight seriously as well. Inspired by witnessing such overwhelming skill, the entire squad immediately follows his lead. Fire magic burns through waves of enemies, while ice attacks freeze monsters solid before they are shattered into pieces by powerful strikes. Not long afterward, the game officially announces that Blue River Guild has achieved a brand new server record. The guild leader proudly begins bragging to rival teams about their achievement, only to suddenly realize that Ye Xiu already left the guild without saying anything. The revelation leaves him completely stunned. The following day, Chen treats Ye Xiu even more warmly than before. She happily brings him breakfast while acting unusually cheerful. Later, she explains that she plans to meet a friend arriving at the station. This friend apparently seeks revenge against a team that humiliated her badly inside the game. When the friend finally arrives, everyone immediately notices both her beauty and her incredible gaming talent. Her fingers glide across the keyboard with unbelievable smoothness, while she completely overwhelms the opposing team. From a distance, Ye Xiu quietly observes her gameplay and instantly realizes how skilled she truly is. A little later, he overhears her complaining that the game has become boring because nobody strong enough remains to challenge her anymore. Hearing those words finally catches Ye Xiu's interest. He steps forward and directly challenges her, promising to grant any request she wants if she manages to defeat him. Confident in her own abilities, she accepts immediately. Soon, everyone inside the internet cafe gathers around to witness the battle. The girl launches a fierce offensive right from the start, but Ye Xiu effortlessly avoids every attack. While fighting, he calmly explains combat techniques to her as though he were teaching a lesson. In the middle of the duel, he transforms the umbrella into a spear, blocks her attack perfectly, and instantly switches weapons again to unleash another devastating counterattack. Even though the girl skillfully dodges the attacks, the situation suddenly changes the moment Ye Xiu disappears from her sight completely. Before anyone can understand what happened, he reappears beside a summoned monster fighting at his side. The spectator battle soon turned into absolute chaos. Even though every player fought with everything they had, the monster's HP barely decreased. Then disaster suddenly struck as the monster transformed into pure rage and summoned an entire army of zombies to attack all the surrounding teams. Fortunately, the players had already prepared themselves. Ye Xiu's actions inspired everyone, and together they began slaughtering every zombie they encountered. At the same time, Ye Xiu lured the boss far away so he could execute his terrifying strategy without interruption. To distract the monster, Ye Xiu even dragged Dong's annoying team into the battle. While they kept the boss occupied, Ye Xiu suddenly appeared behind it and unleashed a devastating attack that nearly erased all of its remaining HP. Only a tiny portion remained, forcing the team to increase the speed of their attacks before the monster could regenerate. Unfortunately, none of the players were capable of maintaining such an intense attack pace. Because of that, Ye Xiu ordered everyone to step aside while he handled the rest alone. The enraged monster tried to resist, but attacks rained down on it non-stop from every direction, leaving it unable to even move. In the final moments, Ye Xiu grabbed the monster by the neck and literally flew across the battlefield while smashing it everywhere. The creature desperately struggled to escape, but Ye Xiu kept it completely restrained until both of them finally crashed into the wall, officially marking the first defeat of the new monster. Because of this achievement, everyone in the game finally realized that Season 10 only had one true king, and that king was Lord Grimm. Shortly after, the Blue River captain angrily contacted Ye Xiu, accusing him of stealing the monster from them even though they arrived first. Ye Xiu simply responded that the monster never belonged to anyone, and whoever defeated it first deserved the reward. Before going to sleep, Ye Xiu discovered that he had completely shattered Excellent Era's old dungeon record by defeating the boss in exactly 13 minutes, 24 seconds, and 21 milliseconds. Meanwhile, over at Team Tyranny, the vice captain became convinced that the person responsible for the new record was definitely Ye Xiu, meaning he had never truly retired at all. Even so, the team leader did not seem particularly concerned about it. At the same time, Ye Xiu himself remained unsatisfied with the dungeon completion time, so he started gathering stronger teammates, including fighters, healers, and mages. Later that night, Excellent Era streamed a live match against Team 301. Sun arrogantly pushed his teammates aside and attempted to fight almost alone while the audience confidently believed he would win easily. However, Ye Xiu immediately predicted the opposite result. Although Sun might win the current round, Excellent Era would eventually lose the championship. His reasoning was simple. No player could maintain maximum hand speed forever, and Glory had never been a solo game. As the match continued, whose pride had already been destroyed earlier, leaving him extremely angry. Because of that frustration, the player created a fake account and secretly contacted Ye Xiu, pretending that he wanted to join the team and learn from them. Ye Xiu immediately realized the truth, but still decided to play along. He first tested the player's abilities by forcing him into a duel against another teammate, making him appear weak on purpose because Ye Xiu had recently gained a reputation for recruiting beginners. After joining the team, Ye Xiu informed everyone that their next goal would be destroying another dungeon record inside Bone Graveyard. At the same time, another player named Deception entered a tournament match without even knowing who his opponent was. Unfortunately for him, once the battle started, he could do nothing except block attacks while his opponent completely overwhelmed him from every direction. The opponent even mocked him during the fight and casually defeated him using only one hand. In the end, Deception was utterly crushed, and because of his terrible performance, both the club and the viewers endlessly criticized him. However, he ignored all the insults and instead contacted Ye Xiu to play with him. Ye Xiu immediately mocked him for his awful performance, sarcastically reminding him that he was supposed to be the one teaching others how to play. Deception pretended not to hear anything and simply ignored the insults. Meanwhile, a mysterious person had been wandering around the cyber cafe for quite some time. The moment Tang Rou noticed him, the guy instantly ran away before returning later when she was no longer nearby. This person turned out to be Huang Shaotian, the vice captain of Team Blue Rain, and the famous Holy Sword player who once defeated Tang Rou during the championship. Huang Shaotian immediately started asking Ye Xiu countless questions, but Ye Xiu refused to answer anything before first breaking another record together. After hearing Ye Xiu's insane strategy, Huang Shaotian instantly agreed. The plan involved gathering all the zombies into one location before trapping them between the mountains to save time. At the same time, the boss monster consisted of two connected forms. One of them would eventually enter a berserk state, so the team planned to continuously attack until draining its HP completely. Once the monster flew into the air, Huang Shaotian's role would begin as he used the championship-winning sword technique to completely destroy the boss. Naturally, that part was exactly his favorite. Everything happened exactly according to the strategy. The second form of the boss appeared, but Ye Xiu personally handled it alone and defeated it in less than a minute. At that point, everyone realized Ye Xiu never truly needed help at all. He simply enjoyed sharing the fun with others because glory was always meant to be a team game rather than a solo one. With that victory, the team officially broke another record. Huang Shaotian then asked Ye Xiu them to crash into each other instead. Right after that, he appeared above them and began firing non-stop with the umbrella machine gun. One of the players attempted a direct close-range attack, unleashing extremely fast and powerful strikes, but everyone watching became shocked because Ye Xiu should have already been finished after only a few hits. Instead, his incredible hand speed on the keyboard and mouse prevented the enemy from even touching the ground properly. The moment Ye Xiu created some distance, he activated a devastating fire attack that instantly burned the first player. Then he turned toward the second one, calmly admitting that the player was stronger than the previous opponent, but still far too weak overall. Just as Ye Xiu prepared to finish the battle, another Tiny Herb member suddenly rushed in to stop him. Unfortunately, that changed absolutely nothing. Ye Xiu's attack continued without slowing down, and before the second player could even react, he was already sent flying into the ground. At that point, Wang finally arrived alongside his entire team and openly declared that Ye Xiu was the strongest boss in the entire game. According to Wang, defeating Ye Xiu would basically mean clearing the game itself. Because of that, the entire team launched a simultaneous attack. Ye Xiu immediately became overwhelmed and started retreating. However, instead of admitting defeat, he sarcastically described the situation as a strategic withdrawal. The Tiny Herb members could not understand what he meant and continued chasing him until he suddenly disappeared from sight and completely logged out of the game. A short while later, Ye Xiu returned with another crazy challenge. He proposed a match between his team and Tiny Herb. If Tiny Herb won, Ye Xiu would have to stop bothering him completely. Wang immediately accepted the challenge. The first round ended badly for Ye Xiu's side after Tang Rou lost quickly, causing Tiny Herb to become overly confident. Unfortunately for them, they had forgotten they were still facing the king himself. Ye Xiu then started defeating the enemy players one after another, completely alone. As each Tiny Herb member lost, Ye Xiu kept criticizing their weaknesses until his attention landed on a substitute player named Fan. Ye Xiu pointed out that Fan's biggest mistake was using a sword despite it not matching his natural talent. Instead, he suggested switching to the Ghost Blade support class because it would suit him perfectly and turn him into a terrifying player. Fan decided to trust Ye Xiu's advice and test the new class immediately. Normally, he would lose within 20 to 30 seconds, but this time he managed to survive nearly 50 seconds. The king's advice had clearly been effective. Eventually, the long-awaited final battle between Ye Xiu and Wang Jiesi finally began. Wang immediately opened the fight with massive explosions that covered the entire battlefield, but Ye Xiu skillfully dodged every single one. Once the distance closed, another player stepped forward and blocked the strike, declaring that anyone who wanted to challenge the king would first have to defeat him. While the battle continued below, the major guilds above still had no idea how to deal with Ye Xiu anymore because he kept destroying one record after another. None of the top 5 teams could stop him. During the fight, one of the opponents was already close to defeating Ye Xiu when another player suddenly interfered with a surprise attack that smashed him into the ground. Before the enemy captain could continue the attack, the true leader finally appeared in person and immediately ordered everyone to stop. The moment Ye Xiu saw him, he instantly realized that this man was the real captain rather than the useless fool standing behind him. Naturally, the insult enraged the opponent, leading him to challenge Ye Xiu to a one-on-one duel. In exchange, he promised to fulfill any request if he lost. Ye Xiu accepted without hesitation. News of the duel spread rapidly throughout the game community, because if the Blue River team lost, their reputation would be completely destroyed. Meanwhile, over at Excellent Era, Sun was growing increasingly frustrated after watching Ye Xiu dominate the server with non-stop record-breaking achievements. Sun realized that if he failed to make an impact soon, he might end up getting kicked out himself. At the same time, Ye Xiu contacted Fan and explained that he needed him during this period because Fan was like a hidden treasure nobody truly appreciated yet. Hearing that instantly boosted Fan's confidence. Afterward, Ye Xiu borrowed Chen Guo's account so he could personally participate in the upcoming duel against the Blue River player. Once the duel started, the opponent immediately launched an aggressive attack, but Ye Xiu effortlessly dodged while continuously provoking him. The enemy then used a cloning technique, but Ye Xiu calmly destroyed every clone one by one using the umbrella machine gun. Chen Guo became completely shocked after seeing the unbelievable performance because she could never use her own account anywhere near that level herself. Ye Xiu continued overwhelming the opponent with attacks that poured down like heavy rain. The enemy barely managed to escape before Ye Xiu suddenly knocked the weapon out of his hands. Before the opponent could recover, another attack launched him into the air, while the falling weapon landed directly in Ye Xiu's hands. Moments later, the duel officially ended with Ye Xiu's victory in exactly 39 seconds. Afterward, the captain of Blue Rain carefully watched the replay of the duel and immediately recognized the movements. According to him, only one player in the entire game could possibly perform techniques like those, meaning Lord Grimm had to be Ye Xiu himself. Huang Shaotian initially tried denying it, but after being cornered with evidence, he finally admitted the truth and explained that Ye Xiu was now using powerful silver weapons, including the legendary multi-purpose umbrella. Soon after, Glory released its that player also claimed to be an ally rather than an enemy. After hearing this, Ye Xiu contacted the others and suggested that everyone gather together first so they could discover who was truly behind all of this. Meanwhile, over at Blue River, the guild leader suddenly received a message from Sun proposing that they cooperate together to eliminate Lord Grimm once and for all. Surprisingly, Blue River immediately rejected the idea because he had no interest in dirty tricks like that. Finally, after Ye Xiu arrived at the forest where everyone planned to gather, Wang Jiesi suddenly started flooding him with messages, demanding another fight immediately. Ye Xiu tried escaping from the challenge, but Wang refused to give up so easily. Wang kept pressuring Ye Xiu for another duel, but Ye Xiu tried delaying it because he was technically still working. Unfortunately, Wang refused to let the matter go and immediately dragged him toward the forest for the fight. The moment Ye Xiu arrived, he found countless players chasing him non-stop because he had broken yet another record, and everyone wanted to either challenge him or learn from him. Without wasting any time, both Ye Xiu and Wang started running at full speed, while an entire army of players chased after them. Wang originally came to learn from Ye Xiu, but the situation quickly turned chaotic after one player finally gathered enough courage to attack. Ye Xiu instantly pulled out his weapon and eliminated the guy with ease before casually playing around with the defeated enemy like a toy. During the chase, Ye Xiu noticed that the opponent's weapon looked far better than his own current equipment. Because of that, he jokingly asked if they could exchange weapons. Naturally, the player refused after spending over a month farming for it. Unfortunately for him, Ye Xiu completely ignored the refusal, beat him up, and stole the weapon anyway simply because he liked it. Eventually, Ye Xiu and Wang finally met face to face for their long-awaited battle. Wang became overly excited and charged recklessly, only to immediately get hit and lose HP. Even after taking damage, Wang remained amazed by Ye Xiu's new techniques, and continued asking to be taught those moves later. At the same time, both players suddenly remembered that they were still surrounded by an endless number of enemies. Wang initially wanted to escape, but Ye Xiu had completely different plans. The rest of the team soon arrived to help, although the biggest problem was that the enemy numbers kept increasing rather than decreasing. Seeing Wang still standing around, Ye Xiu immediately demanded help. Wang agreed, though only because Ye Xiu had promised him another duel afterward. The two then turned the entire situation into a competition to see who could defeat more enemies. The reason so many players were chasing them was eventually revealed. Sun had secretly offered huge rewards to anyone capable of defeating Ye Xiu, or even injuring him. If someone actually succeeded, the reward money. Ye Xiu logged in, the entire team launched an attack. Ye Xiu skillfully dodged the incoming attacks until the enemy leader finally revealed himself. The captain, Han Wenqing, directly questioned why Ye Xiu had returned to the game after supposedly retiring. Ye Xiu calmly explained that he returned simply because he still loved glory. However, Han Wenqing refused to accept such a simple explanation and ordered the attacks to continue. While defending himself, Ye Xiu explained that leaving Excellent Era only meant the team no longer wanted him there. It never meant he would abandon the game itself, After another fierce exchange of attacks between the two legendary players, Ye Xiu was just about to land the finishing blow when Tyranny's vice-captain suddenly interfered and forcefully stopped him. Naturally, the king was not pleased at all with what had just happened. The king was clearly displeased by the interruption, so Ye Xiu immediately transformed the umbrella into a spear and resumed attacking. As both weapons collided, the two players remembered their legendary battle for the title of the best player in the world, a match that Ye Xiu had won in the end. Because of that victory, Ye Xiu confidently reminded his opponent that nobody would take the throne from him so easily. Although the enemy grew angry at Ye Xiu's confidence, Ye Xiu calmly explained that his words were not arrogance at all. He had only stepped away for 1 year, and that temporary absence did not mean someone else would permanently replace him as the king. Sometime later, Ye Xiu and his team challenged the Desert Dragon dungeon. Fan successfully froze the dragon in place while Ye Xiu landed the finishing blow as usual, allowing the group to break yet another new record. Ye Xiu noticed Fan's improved ice technique and encouraged him to continue training at the same pace. Not long after, Chen Guo invited Ye Xiu and Tang Rou to attend the upcoming Glory event taking place at the end of the week. This tournament would become the first official competition ever held without the king's presence. Naturally, everyone throughout China was extremely excited because every powerful professional team planned to attend alongside countless fans. Every professional player who entered the arena received an incredible introduction from the organizers. However, the biggest reaction by far still came from Sun's appearance. Watching everything unfold caused Ye Xiu to remember the exact moment he won his third championship before immediately retiring afterward. At that moment, Ye Xiu silently promised himself that he would never give up on his dream no matter how difficult things became. Even if his hands eventually failed him someday, he still refused to allow anyone else to permanently take his place. The tournament rules were then explained. 7 professional players would participate, and each one could personally choose their own opponent, even if that person belonged to the same team. Once chosen, the opponent had no right to refuse. Unfortunately for Ye Xiu, he had once been selected 7 times in a single event, which became Ye Xiu immediately understood the truth. Wang Jiezie had not truly lost because of weakness. Instead, he had deliberately sacrificed himself to give his talented student the confidence he desperately needed. Ye Xiu openly praised Wang for being a true leader and even applauded him, although almost nobody else in the arena understood what had really happened except for one professional player who noticed Wang's hidden intentions. Meanwhile, Gao Yingjie himself could barely believe he had actually defeated his own captain. The overwhelming mix of happiness, shock, fear, and excitement almost caused him to collapse before Wang caught him and officially raised his hand as the future captain of Tiny Herb. After that emotional moment, the next challenger appeared. Fan decided to challenge Li Xuan, the #1 Ghostblade specialist in the entire game. Many people thought the challenge was completely insane, but Fan accepted the risk because he desperately wanted to prove himself. Fan entered the battle carrying enormous pressure on his shoulders because both he and Gao Yingjie started playing Glory on the exact same day. Because of that, Fan desperately wanted to prove that he was not inferior. He immediately launched an attack, but Li Xuan was already waiting for him. The counterattack instantly removed a quarter of Fan's HP, making it painfully obvious how huge the gap between them really was. Everyone watching believed Fan's decision was reckless because he chose to challenge the greatest Ghostblade specialist in the entire game, despite only having a few months of experience with the class. As expected, Fan ended up completely defeated. While leaving the arena, he stared at the battlefield one last time and regretted wasting the rare opportunity he had been given. Fan continued blaming himself while imagining the humiliation waiting for him once he returned to his team. At that moment, Ye Xiu suddenly appeared behind him and immediately criticized the foolish challenge he had made. Ye Xiu explained that just because he praised Fan a few times did not suddenly make him strong enough to challenge the best player in that specialization. Even so, Ye Xiu understood exactly why Fan made such a reckless decision. Fan simply wanted to display his abilities in front of everyone. According to Ye Xiu, the real problem was not Fan's courage but the terrible timing. Compared to Li Xuan, Fan was still nowhere near his level because Li Xuan was the absolute master of magical circles and battlefield control. Ye Xiu explained that Fan should have relied more on intelligence rather than pure excitement. However, the criticism was not meant to crush his spirit. Ye Shu openly admitted that if he had been in Fan's position, he probably would have made the exact same mistake himself. Instead of drowning in regret and constantly thinking about what he should or should not have done, Ye Shu encouraged Fan to trust his own talent and continue training harder. Glory was not something achieved instantly, and true growth required patience. After leaving those valuable words behind, play beside her idol. The event challenge involved a high jump race across floating platforms suspended in the air. Tang Rou entered the game using her personal account, while the professional players immediately looked down on her because they assumed she was just another casual audience member. However, the moment the game started, Tang Rou shocked everyone with her terrifying hand speed and unbelievable precision. She moved across the floating platforms perfectly while attacking anyone who threatened either her or her friends. As the competition progressed higher and higher, Su Mucheng ended the challenge with a single incredible jump. In the end, both girls successfully reached the top, while the audience began whispering in amazement about Tang Rou's unbelievable skills and the mysterious player who trained her. Finally, Su Mucheng grabbed the microphone and explained the true spirit of Glory. According to her, the game had slowly transformed from a team-based competition into something too focused on individual stars. Simply being the strongest player on a team did not make someone the center of the universe. Su Mucheng's speech deeply affected everyone, especially Ye Shu, who could only smile quietly afterward. Soon after, another professional player from Team Samsara began a one-on-one event against random audience members. The chosen challenger ended up being Tang Rou herself, who confidently stepped onto the stage filled with excitement and determination. Wang Jiesi, who had been watching from afar, immediately recognized Tang Rou's hidden potential and admitted that she was like a priceless treasure nobody had properly discovered yet. He even revealed that he once invited her to train with Tiny Herb, but she refused the offer completely. Once the match started, the professional player mocked Tang Rou and warned her not to become overconfident just because the audience supported her. He treated her like nothing more than an insignificant amateur and attacked aggressively from the very beginning. However, the situation immediately shocked everyone after Tang Rou successfully dodged the deadly combo attack before suddenly appearing behind him and launching a powerful counterattack that sent him flying. The professional players watching the duel became increasingly stunned, while Chen Guo could barely contain her excitement. Even Ye Shu warned Chen Guo not to underestimate professional players because the opponent had not been fighting seriously yet. As expected, the professional player finally stopped holding back and unleashed a violent combo attack that trapped Tang Rou completely in the air. She became unable to move at all under the non-stop pressure. At that critical moment, Tang Rou remembered Ye Shu's teachings and somehow managed to reverse the entire situation. The professional player immediately realized the fight was no longer simple and demanded that she continue attacking instead of stopping. Tang Rou then began attacking from long range using her spear with unbelievable speed until one strike finally pierced the opponent's shoulder. The player could not understand how she recovered and looked around. Ye Shu had already disappeared from sight. Every counterattack came back at him with 10 times greater force, leaving him completely unable to control either his body or the flow of the battle. It felt as though he was fighting a ghost instead of a human being. As his HP rapidly disappeared, the player desperately screamed that he refused to lose. Unfortunately for him, Ye Shu calmly continued overwhelming him before finally deciding to end the duel using one of the strongest and most difficult techniques in the entire history of Glory. Ye Shu unleashed the legendary dragon attack. The opponent attempted to dodge by jumping away, but the dragon suddenly twisted its head in midair before biting directly into his neck. The entire arena instantly fell silent from shock. Moments later, the audience completely exploded with excitement, while every professional player stood frozen in disbelief. All of them stared directly at Tang Rou's computer before shouting the exact same realization at once. The king was inside the arena. However, during the middle of all that chaos, Ye Shu quietly left the computer and escaped through the back exit before the cameras could discover his identity. He disappeared like a ghost who appeared only long enough to teach everyone a lesson. Later that night, the girls returned to the hotel where Chen Guo finally asked Ye Shu directly whether he was truly the king. Ye Shu simply smiled lightly and admitted the truth. He was Ye Shu. After Chen Guo discovered Ye Xiu's true identity, she immediately asked why he abandoned everything despite being the greatest player in glory history. Ye Xiu calmly replied that the past no longer mattered because what truly mattered was the future he planned to build from this point onward. Following the massive tournament event, the entire professional scene entered chaos. Although the second season of the professional league continued normally, everyone could still feel the huge gap left behind by the absence of the king. Players and fans constantly questioned whether Ye Xiu had truly grown old and lost his abilities as Excellent Era claimed, or if another hidden truth existed behind his retirement. In reality, as both Ye Xiu and the viewers already knew, the king never surrendered his throne at all. He was simply changing his identity and preparing for a new beginning. Back at the cyber cafe, Ye Xiu continued training his teammates in close-range combat techniques. He explained that the key to defeating long-range opponents was using engagement skills to trap and pressure them without giving them room to escape. At that point, Ye Xiu officially revealed his true goal. Instead of simply playing casually, he planned to enter the professional scene once again. With the full support of everyone around him, the Happy Guild was officially created. The strange name immediately caught everyone's attention throughout the server. Excellent Era quickly realized that Ye Xiu's return could become dangerous, so they secretly sent someone to crush his confidence before he could grow stronger. The enemy warned Ye Xiu that his career could have ended perfect, but Sumu Cheng blocked their escape path with devastating bombardments. One enemy desperately begged for help after falling toward the sea, but before anyone could rescue him, Ye Xiu planted a bomb on him and sent him flying away. At the same time, Blue River's forces surrounded Ye Xiu from behind. Even so, Ye Xiu still casually grabbed multiple opponents and smashed through them, while Sumu Cheng handled the rest alone, without needing protection from anyone. Eventually, around 70% of the attackers were completely defeated. The remaining players desperately attempted to escape toward land, only to discover that Ye Xiu's teammates had already been waiting for them. Fan froze the enemies in place, while the others overwhelmed them with non-stop attacks until the entire ambush completely collapsed. After securing victory, Ye Xiu sent a message to all the guilds warning them that if they wanted mercy, they needed to hand over every rare resource they possessed. Naturally, the guilds refused and instead continued sending stronger veteran teams against him. Unfortunately for them, every strategy they created was immediately destroyed because Ye Xiu always predicted everything in advance. This war continued for almost 2 entire months until the guilds finally reached the same conclusion. Lord Grimm had to be Ye Xiu because his movements and techniques were completely identical to the king's style from the professional league. After discussing it carefully, the guild leaders finally decided to confront him directly. When they finally questioned him personally, Ye Xiu honestly admitted the truth without hesitation. Since they already knew who he was, he immediately requested their help with several difficult missions needed to reach level 50. Naturally, none of the guilds dared refuse after realizing they were speaking directly to the king himself. Unfortunately for them, Ye Xiu quickly became addicted to assigning non-stop tasks. One mission turned into another, then another, until the exhausted guild members felt completely destroyed, while Ye Xiu continued without even thanking them properly. Eventually, things finally calmed down during the Chinese New Year celebration. While Ye Xiu relaxed inside the cyber cafe with Chen Guo, a mysterious man suddenly entered wearing an elegant suit. Chen Guo became confused after hearing the stranger calmly introduce himself as the real Ye Xiu. The truth was finally revealed. The man was actually Ye Xiu's twin brother. When Ye Xiu originally ran away from home years ago to become a professional player, he secretly stole his brother's identity and registered in Glory using his name instead. After hearing the story, Ye Xiu immediately asked why his brother suddenly brought the topic up after so many years. His brother then explained that their father had become seriously ill and wanted Ye Xiu to return home because this might become their final chance to see him. However, Ye Xiu quickly realized that his brother also wanted to escape the responsibilities at home. His brother admitted that Ye was higher than him. Despite the huge difference, Ye Xiu instantly turned the monster into nothing more than a harmless cat. He continued exploring non-stop and crushed every enemy standing in his way. In less than a single day, he successfully completed 32 missions, setting another unbelievable record because those missions normally took players anywhere from 1 week to an entire month. Soon after, another player approached Ye Xiu and directly asked whether he was truly Lord Grimm. After Ye Xiu confirmed it, the player revealed that his team wanted to challenge him personally. Ye Xiu accepted immediately, although clearly not because he cared about them. The challenge required Ye Xiu to fight through 7 consecutive rounds. However, the matches ended almost instantly. The first opponent was defeated within seconds, followed by the second, third, and every player after them. It eventually became obvious that Ye Xiu genuinely enjoyed these non-stop fights because his record kept increasing at an absurd pace. Hundreds upon hundreds of victories piled up without a single defeat. The number eventually reached an unbelievable 477,881 consecutive wins. The entire gaming community exploded after hearing the news. Everyone became shocked that a level 50 player was defeating max-level veterans so effortlessly. Even stranger, nobody managed to defeat him even once. Because his record looked completely impossible, many players began accusing Ye Xiu of using hacks. In response, Ye Xiu openly invited everyone to room 1369 so they could witness everything with their own eyes. Players flooded the room immediately, gathering just to watch Lord Grimm completely destroy veteran fighters and humiliate them publicly. Meanwhile, back at Excellent Era headquarters, the atmosphere became incredibly tense. The executive manager grew furious while reviewing reports showing that Ye Xiu had already completed every Heavenly Domain mission despite still being level 50. On top of that, Ye Xiu continued causing chaos throughout the 10th server. The manager angrily demanded that the organization stop sitting around doing nothing while Ye Xiu kept growing stronger. He immediately ordered them to contact the major guilds like Blue Rain and form an alliance capable of stopping Lord Grimm before things became even worse. Unfortunately for Excellent Era, the answer they received was terrible. Every major team had already surrendered the idea of stopping Ye Xiu directly. Even Team Tyranny refused involvement. At that moment, Excellent Era finally realized the terrifying truth. Ye Xiu was not simply playing for fun. He was building an entirely new professional team, and if he succeeded, that team could become the most dangerous opponent in the entire league. Meanwhile, Ye Xiu continued clearing missions inside the game when Wang Jiesi secretly contacted him using a fake account and requested a match. Ye Xiu immediately rejected him because the fake account's level was quickly approaching them. He instantly realized that Excellent Era had finally started viewing Happy Guild as a real threat, and had sent professional players to hunt them down directly. Ye Xiu immediately ordered Chen Guo to run away, but she stubbornly refused and insisted on fighting beside him no matter what happened. She even suggested using herself as bait if necessary. Ye Xiu surprisingly agreed to the plan and quickly gave her instructions to move toward a specific rock formation. Then came one of the craziest moments yet. Ye Xiu grabbed both keyboards and both mice at the same time while controlling his own account and Chen Guo's account simultaneously. While continuously giving Chen Guo commands, he also fought directly against the enemy team without losing focus for even a second. From a normal perspective, controlling 2 characters at once should have been completely impossible. However, Ye Xiu handled both accounts flawlessly while explosions covered the entire battlefield. One by one, the professional players slowly began losing HP as Ye Xiu's trap unfolded perfectly. Eventually, the enemy professionals completely misunderstood the situation and assumed Chen Guo's skill level was actually close to Ye Xiu's. Believing they had fallen into a dangerous ambush, they immediately retreated from the battlefield. After the fight ended, Chen Guo burst into laughter and asked Ye Xiu how he managed to control 2 accounts at the same time so perfectly. Ye Xiu casually answered with his usual attitude, saying that with great power naturally came great responsibility.